back before quarantine hit, I had just finished up a bar that a client dropped off. And the one thing that I never finished is the glass top. So I'm gonna flip this around, if it'll let me. And of course it won't let me while I'm doing it. So this is the bar. And up on top, you see we have things set up there, but there's a glass top for this. I'm going to start working on it now, and we're going to do Verre leopard print all over it, and I'm going to take you on the process. All right, so we're walking back here. This video is going to be done in a whole bunch of parts, so you're going to have to be patient. Let's see, I got to get the stand stable so that I can put the phone in it, and then we can flip it down. Sorry for my hand. Hopefully I'll be smart and edit that out. This is the glass. So I'm coming down here so that we can see a little better. This is regular glass, and from the edge you can see it's sort of greenish. This is standard glass that you get at any glass cutter, used for tabletops. It's not some of the super high-end Starfire that I often use for Verre, but this will work absolutely perfectly. First thing I'm doing, this says isopropyl alcohol, but actually what's in here is denatured alcohol. You can use either. I prefer denatured, it works better. And then I'm taking a 1 pound cotton roll. I just keep a whole bunch of this around all the time. And I'm gonna do my first wipe down. Actually, I'm gonna do my first wipe down with a piece of paper towel that I have here. And this is just to get the basic crud off of here. Now this is a top that has been used for years before I got hold of it. And you know, it's got some dings and some chips in it, and it's got some flaws. And I think I'm gonna turn it over. And you can see, just from that wipe down, this is already dirty. Because I wanna keep the chip side down. I'm gonna flip it. And you see I marked 2 X's on here. And that is so that I only clean and gild one side. Well, I'm gonna have to remark it because I always mark the X's on the side that is not being gilded. And obviously I just flip the glass over to clean that. And this is a preliminary cleaning. This is to get basically the crud off that just generally accumulates. And you can see it's dirt, but there's some ink there from the pen. Let's grab my pen for a second. So again, I'm Xing on the sides that I'm not gilding, just so I don't, if I have to move this, I can't reach that side. I can't even get an X on it. I'm just scribbling on it right now. I had to do some creative reaching. So that you mark the side that you're not gilding, just so that once this is completely clean, you know which is the spotlessly clean side, and you don't have to worry about gilding the wrong side, because if you don't have it immaculately clean, the gilder's liquor that we use later on will not work. So I've spritzed some denatured alcohol on here, and this is just whiting. It's just whiting. You get it from the art supply store. And then I'm going to take a wad of clean cotton, spritz a little more alcohol on it, and I'm going to swirl. And the whiting acts like both a grease absorber, while the alcohol cuts grease, and it acts as a grit texture on here to lift crud off the surface, because there's a lot of crud. And the deal is that you clean it as much as you think you need to clean it, and then you clean it twice more. Why? Because it doesn't matter how clean you think it is. If you don't do it the extra times, the liquor will just slide right off. It'll find the one little bit of grease that you left behind. All right, so we're gonna move this into fast forward. Okay, so now all the cleaning's done. This is completely oil-free. Quite frankly, so are my hands. There's not a drop of anything greasy near this. And what I'd have to do is I create Gilder's liquor, which is a combination of gelatin, distilled water, and then once it's finished heating up to dissolve the gelatin, a little squirt of denatured alcohol in it to help speed the evaporation to tighten the metals down. I also got out, we're doing this in silver since the bar is in grays. So I have real silver leaf, not aluminum leaf. We're doing real silver leaf on this. I have my wash brush, this is for applying Gilder's liquor. Now, the first time I ever apply it, I'm going to show you this. The gelatin capsule that's in here has been heated and dissolved, but to make sure, you kind of stir it down. You don't want a clump of gelatin grabbing onto your brush, so you got to stick it in. But once you've done that, you kind of need to leave the brush in there, because if you take it out, if there is a clump of gelatin, it will harden on the brush and mess up everything. I have some gilding tools in here. I usually keep them like this. So we're gonna need a gilder's knife, which looks like a cake spreader but is stiffer and has a sharper edge on it. Gilder's knife. And then we're gonna need a gilder's tip. And we have a lot of choices. So I have this kind of tip, which I haven't used in a while. This is actually a screen, and it allows you to drop the foil down on a surface. It can be used for Verre eglomise, but I find it a little challenging. But it is nice because then I don't have to worry quite so much about how I'm laying the gold down. But if it doesn't want to let go off of the screen, then it just makes a mess no matter what. So I haven't practiced with that in a while, so I'm probably not going to use that. And then I have regular gilder's tips. I have them in all sizes, shapes, different bristles. So I think what I'm looking for, if I can find it, I have a sable one that is just a little bit of heaven to work with. So let me see if that's this one. I have to check because I can't remember which one it is, and it'll tell me on it. Top. That's a regular tip. I think the sable one was the blue one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the sable one. Let me just check all the others. It'll tell me. I made a double tip there. That's not sable. Oh, there it is. I knew I was looking for the Pierre Finkelstein one, which I knew was my sable one. So these bristles are a little denser, and they're super soft, but boy, are they nice to work with. Now, not every tip has to be sable. This is just my little gift to myself. I will go like this in here. I will pull out any old metals that might be in there, just to make sure there's nothing on it. And then I have Vaseline, so you need to take a little Vaseline on your finger. I have really dry skin, so you need to adjust this for your skin. If you're an oily person, you probably don't need this at all. I know a lot of gals who are oily skinned. I can't say I know the guys do this, but I know some of the ladies do. So that when they're not wearing makeup, instead of putting Vaseline on their arm, they take their tip and go up against their jaw. So if you're an oily person, that works just great. You actually don't need Vaseline. I am dry as a bone and I'm wearing makeup, so I won't put my tip up by my face. I've got a little bit, I don't know if it'll catch in the light, but I have a little bit of Vaseline right here, and I'll have to reapply fairly quickly because my skin's so dry, it absorbs really fast. All right, so here is my gilder's pad. And we're gonna flip the camera down, and this is gonna go slow at first, and then I'm gonna switch it over to fast forward so you all don't have to sit and watch me slowly gild everything. Okay, I get my gold leaf from W&B in Wisconsin. Their customer service is fantastic. Their price is as good, if not better, than anybody else's. And they are still one of the very few companies that will, on special order, hand hammer gold leaf for you. I think they're the only people left in this country who actually still do that. It's a special order because it's a lot of work, but they are one of the few who do that. Okay, so I have my liquor here, and I got to turn everything. It takes me a minute to get into my rhythm, so be patient. Get all this other stuff out. Different people have different ways of handling their books. I learned this, that if I roll my metals like this and then go back and roll it the other way, it helps release them from the backing paper in here. And I go slow. You know, I've seen people, there are a lot of gilders who can just flip the leaf up in the air, toss 4 or 5 of them down on here, then flip them around and get them to lay perfectly. That's not me. All right, so I'm gonna take some of the liquor and I'm gonna start up here and work my way down. The reason I'm not starting down here is the liquor will slide down this angle to drain, and it will constantly pool down here, and it will ruin the set of my gold. For me, it works better if I start and go from the top down. All right, so I'm going back over my arm to pick up a little bit of Vaseline, and then I'm going to pick up my piece of leaf. And I warned you all, my skin is actually that dry. It just did not even want to let the gold grab. All right, so I'm going to throw this up here in the corner, and I will miss and I will make mistakes, and I don't care because I'm going to etch out a lot of what I'm doing here. But this is how it goes. You just go slowly and exercise patience. All right, I'm gonna switch this to fast forward so that we can move on with this. So yesterday we gilded the glass with pure silver, and then I walked away from it to let it anchor down, pull tight, let the liquor evaporate, and now we have this nice tight gilded glass surface. So obviously there's a lot of stuff on here. I have to clean it off. If I wanted to, I could do another flooding of Gilder's liquor over the entire surface. That would actually create a harder bond, and it would make it shinier on the other side, but I'm going to be releasing a very small all over pattern, so I'm not going to add more stuff. This is a tool called the Goldfather, and it's a little polishing pad that helps you to wipe extra leaf off. You can use a brush, you can use other tools, but I love this gold pad for glass because it's very gentle and it doesn't take the glass off the surface when you're wiping down, and I have had some tools that will do that. And I'm going to go over here. See, down over here in this corner, I cleaned and I lost a lot of leaf on there, which means I either didn't put enough liquor here or I didn't get it clean. And since I know everything was immaculately cleaned, I probably just didn't have enough liquor there. But that's all right, it will not show in the end. I'm prepared for these things to be an issue. I create finishes with flaws. I have an air conditioner blowing right on me right now, so it's actually kind of helping me. It actually helped me with laying the leaf on yesterday because it kept it from hitting the surface a little too fast. Normally you want a still airless area, but the air conditioner actually helped me. So I'm gonna knock off the last little bits here. Clean that all off. Get all that skewings now. If I did a lot of gilding, and I know a lot of people do, I don't keep my skewings unless I'm using a ton and you know, I've gone through a gold and I'm going through a lot of gilding, and then I'll save my skewings. Most of the time I don't. Studio's too dirty. I'm not one of the people who melts it down myself and does other stuff with it. So if they're not big pieces, I don't keep them. Quite frankly, like I said, I just think my studio's too dirty. I get too much crap in it, so that doesn't really do as well in reconstituting them. All right, so my bar up in front has cheetah patterns on it. I have a cheetah stencil, and it's a 2-layer stencil. Let me make sure I get this on right here. It's a 2-layer stencil from Artistic Painting Studio. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna do 2 layers on here. So this is gonna just look like hell if I leave that on there. So what we're just gonna do is we're gonna use the decorative template of the spots, and I will just be, and we have registration marks here too, so I can use those to help me move the pattern around. And I'm going to use, for, in this case, I'm using Japan paint because it dries really hard, but even though it's oil-based, it also dries quickly. I could use a water-based paint. I could use just about any paint for this because it's not going to be seen on the front. I'm just using Japan paint because it's very good on top of metal like this. I don't really have to worry about if my pattern's super square set on there because this is going to be such a random pattern, and I'm just sort of tapping the paint in. And what'll happen is when I lift the stencil and we go back into this job, I will be etching out all the silver that doesn't have black paint on it. I know that's going to sound like a lot of work for me, and it is, but Verre eglomise is generally fairly labor intensive, and it's going for a very specific effect, so I'm okay with it. And I'm going to make sure to tap in my registration marks so I can find them when I need to move this. So this will dry quickly, and I'll be able to move my stencil around fairly rapidly. But once I finish with this and lift it, we're going to move into fast forward mode so that you don't have to sit here and watch me wait for things to dry in between layers and, you know, all the boring stuff I'll fast forward through for you. But you'll still see me apply the paint. And I'm using a very soft brush intentionally because I don't want my brush so stiff that it actually peels any of the silver off while I brush paint on it. And I know that the pattern that shows here is not going to be perfect by a long shot, but it'll give me enough definition that I'll be able to move things around and etch out the gold or the silver the way I want it. I need to lift this up. Try not to scratch things as I do this. Oh yeah, that worked perfectly. All right, we're gonna switch into fast forward mode. Okay, so we have let all the paint that we put on the silvered glass dry, and now we're ready to start etching out. So to etch things out, we add some, where is it? We put some denatured alcohol in a cup. We added a little pinch of whiting, literally just a pinch, because what that does is create a liquid that actually has a little bit of a grit to it to help remove the glass. And you can see I'm wearing a glove too. So what this does is the glove prevents any oils from my hand from getting onto the silver and causing a patina situation. Fortunately, that's not really an issue for me because my skin's so dry, but I like to be safe just to be sure what's going on. Now, normally I start all the way over on my right, and because I'm left-handed and I move left, I'm gonna do a little etching out. I've done a little bit already, but I'm gonna do a little more so you can see the cleaning process, and then I'm gonna pull the glass back up so you can see what the etched out areas look like. So it's on an angle so that it can work for me. What I have here is just a bamboo skewer, a bigger one, heavier one that I picked up at the art store for probably doing similar stuff, or maybe even, other kinds of, scratch out work. And then I wrapped the tip in some clean cotton, dipped it in the denatured alcohol solution, and then I just come in here like this, and it's scratching out, cleaning off, wiping back all the silver. Right now I'm just sort of doing the rough clean out because I'll have to come back with a smaller skewer and work finer details later. But the paint actually just sort of gives me this edge that I can go along. Now I can absolutely scratch the paint off of here, no problem, because it's sitting on top of silver, so there's no tight bond. But what this does is makes it easy for me to etch stuff out. It gives me my pattern all over the place, and if I'm not happy with it, I can always etch it out some more. Come back in tightly, snug up my cotton around the tip of my skewer, and let me get a little more in here. Let's see if I can get a good light on here so I can see what I'm supposed to be doing instead of just babbling. Okay. Now this is going to take a long time. I will probably work on this for like an hour or so, put it away, come back to it later, because I've got a lot of stuff going on. This is, our first day of the week. Today is Tuesday. How would you know? I've been doing this over a couple days. You wouldn't know that today is a Tuesday, but today is Tuesday, which is our first business day of the week. And yeah, we're a little busy in here on Tuesdays, getting orders packed up from our 2 days off and planning the rest of the week and getting orders out and sending out shipments and bringing in new orders and all kinds of stuff. I don't think I put enough cotton on here. I'm not getting as much of a rub as I normally do, which means I was a little light-handed getting the cotton on. So you want to do this fairly quickly after applying the gold or silver leaf. because the longer you wait, the harder the gelatin becomes, and then the harder it becomes to etch out. Doesn't mean you can't, it's just a lot more work. So I did this last week. It's still pretty easy, but wherever the gelatin's a little heavier, I can feel that I have to work a little more to get it off. There we go. I get a lot of silver off right there. All right, I'm gonna flip that spot up so you can see the basics of what it looks like. It's far from finished. It'll look very rough. So let me pull the camera back a little bit. So right here is the area that I've etched out. And the shapes that are here in silver are the cheetah print shapes. The black is where the glass is clear and my black shirt is showing through. Now you understand why black can be so helpful, because it shows really well what you've etched out. Flip this back. Okay. We're going to switch into time-lapse mode because this is going to take a long time. Hey Joe, the repair on the air conditioner and the trim in the door isn't correct. It is pushing water out under the trim. You can now see the trim is starting to swell and peel and push the caulk out. And it's raining inside my door now, not just outside. Okay.
You did not believe Alan loved you because you do not believe you deserve love. If you could do that moment over,
Okay, so I cleaned off any of the exposed spots of paint. I didn't worry about the little tiny ones, but I cleaned it off, and then I wiped down the back with denatured alcohol because in the cleaning it sheds little crumbs of stuff too, in the cleaning off the old, the extra silver and everything. So you deal with that, and then, hang on a second, my son's over there. Kiddo, would you hand me a piece, the blue towel right there? Thank you. Okay, and now all we're going to do here is do a quick wipe down with denatured on this side to remove all the Sharpie, and I'll check to see whether or not I've got to clean any extra leaf. Sometimes we get leaf that wraps around the edge or up over the top, and so I wipe the edges of the glass down just to clean any little extra bits off. But you know, there's a whole lot of Sharpie that was on here for me to mark things, so now I need to make sure I clean everything off so it's clean and presentable to go on the furniture piece. And then in just a moment we will go and place it over on top of the leopard case. All right, look at these edges. Make sure there's nothing weird built up. And you know, this is far from a new piece of glass. I mean, I've got a little chip in here. This was the piece of glass that my client gave me the bar with. So, you know, if I was doing this with a brand new piece of glass, I would have probably gone out and picked up Starfire glass, which is crystal clear, and if you look at it from the side, it looks clear whitish to gray as opposed to green, which is how most glass looks. It's ultra clear, but I'm working you know, I can work with whatever I'm given, create something pretty with it. So I'm pretty pleased. All right, I'm gonna turn off the camera. We're gonna go put this over on the top of the cabinet, and we'll take a little video there. Okay, so this is the cabinet that this was going on. It's our koi cheetah bar that we did with Galaxy Stone and great texture. And we had done, hang on, let me slide this up here, but we did the cheetah pattern very subtly with a texture roller through the Galaxy Stone on top, and just to mirror it and complete the look. Ooh, there's a little ink. Now we have our cheetah Verre eglomise glass top for it, and I think it looks now totally appropriate for this piece. Look how fun that is.